Hey everybody, this is Carl back again for another movie spoiler review. This one's fairly quicker than I uh normally do a movie review. Usually I do like at least two every Thursday. Well, I usually do one every Thursday, but this is long sort of it is. I wanted to talk about this for at least a couple of weeks now. I wanted to wait until next month, but I want to dedicate that all for like just Superman movie reviews. But I just want to cut to the chase because I really wanted to talk about this movie. I'm gonna make two different videos about this film. The 2009 film The Ugly Truth, starring Katherine Heigl and Gerard Butler. And this video will be just talking about the film itself. Another one will just be a discussion video about the themes of it in regards of what is deemed like the red pill movement. But again, more into that later. Anyway, like I said, starring Katherine Heigl and Gerard Butler, directed by Robert Luketic. Katherine Heigl plays Abigail Richter. Gerard Butler plays Mike Chadway. Eric Winter as Colin Anderson. Nick Searcy as Stewart, the boss of Abby. And Colin Anderson's the idealized orthopedic surgeon that Abigail is vying for. Karen Hines as Georgia Bourdonnais. John Michael Higgins as Larry Freeman. Both of them are co-anchors on the morning show and happen to be married. Bree Turner as Joy Heim, assistant to Abby. Could have sworn I've seen Bree Heim and stuff. Rosalie, yeah, she was on Grimm. I'm like, I know I recognize her from somewhere. I'm pretty sure she's been in other stuff, but yeah, she was on the Brothers. I mean, not the Brothers. Just in the TV show Grimm. I really liked that show. It was a really good show. Kevin Connolly as Jim Ryan, a blind date earlier in the film. Bonnie Somerville as Elizabeth Chadway, Mike's sister. Anyway, the movie is about, like Abigail, or Abby, who is a TV show, a morning show producer in Sacramento, California, who is a bit of a control freak, but a naive in terms of romance. Is pretty much, I can imagine her be like one of those type of girls that grew up watching tons of Hallmark Christmas movie rom-coms. Excuse me. And she is, going on this blind date with this dude who seemingly, has like the right credentials for as like a life partner, but clearly it doesn't go well because she right away starts slipping, just without even acknowledging or reading the room, where she just brings up about like, oh, I see you got pretty much like all his like his SAT scores and all this other background information, which I would have kept to my freaking self if I was her. There's nothing wrong for a girl making sure she look up the kind, especially if she's going on a blind date, be ideal to look up, make sure like who you're about to go out with, and see if he's like, not some crazy nut. But the fact that you just slipped it in and just decide to order a particular drink of water, is a bit of controlling the whole entire date, which puts him off. Understandably, puts off the guy, where he seems like he probably can't chime in. They didn't show it here. I don't know if there was was any kind of deleted scenes on how this date through and through would have went out, but I'm pretty sure it would have just nosedived from that moment on. So she comes home disappointed in how the date went, and then sees on TV about this, this guy Mag Chatway with this program. Not even sure if it's like some, I don't know who was like, because he was on some kind of infomercial or something like that. Somebody was able to put him on air. I'm not sure if this is like a, I don't know, somebody was able to put him on cable network or something. So I don't know why like a TV show like a morning show was able to book him if he's probably already with somebody. I don't know. But her cat was, messing with the TV show remote, just very coincidental kind of thing. Where you see Mike Chatway with his program called The Ugly Truth, basically stating to people about how these crappy, books called like those self-help books called like Man Up from Mars, Man Up from Venus. He's like literally, put them into like a barrel and lighting them on fire because they are garbage. And he points out, like, ladies, men are simple. There's no deeper. I mean, like some of the stuff, here and there are flawed, but it's crazy how it parallels to what happened, what's going on right now, over like a dozen years later, after all this time. But just, you're trying to peel back all these layers for guys trying to understand us, and for the most part, all of us are not that freaking deep. Like, sure, we got like certain interests. We're not like a complete monolith, but by and large we are simple. But women are chiming in, calling in, and it's like and then Mike calls them out on their BS. It's not that dissimilar to what this very educated man called named Kevin Samuels, who passed away like a couple of years ago, but he got extremely popular by pointing out, man, it's just like Mike Chatway is probably like the 2009 version of what Kevin Samuels was not too long ago, where he just pretty much called is a little bit more crash, but it's the ugly truth. And it's a very cool title to it, because it's like, because this was, a lot of these callers are kind of put off or upset because, and then pretty sure a lot of like people in these like red pill movements would have pointed out, it's like a lot of women grew up with simp dudes or a bunch of girls all been telling them all the stuff they like to hear, so to get an overly inflated sense of ego, or just like a big head, like like the guy like that, or they don't need to improve or bring anything to more to the table beyond their sexual appeal. And so when they get told reality or told the truth, they flip the fuck out most of the time. Not every time, but there are some sensible women out there who can take in and digest without going off the freaking handle, or better yet, handle criticism. But it's just like, since then, man, it's just gotten bad, man, because like God, we look at this movie in 2024's eyes, and it's like, man, this movie's ahead of its time. Honestly, if lo and behold, you know what I mean? Like, man, we could not predict how relationships was gonna go in the next, 10 years down the line. But Abby calls in, tried to own this dude because she thought like, oh, he just crashed and just doesn't know what he's talking about. So she tried to challenge him, and he was like, okay, I bite. What's he like? What's who like? Oh, this dude that you talking about, like, what's he like? If you with some guy, like, what's up? And she starts listen, pretty much her dream man, but Mike was pretty much like, he's from America, right? It's not French or anything. It's like, no. And then she kind of told her herself, and so he doesn't even exist. This is your just like a fantasy rolling in your head. And Mike, I mean, calls her like, you probably just some ugly chick anyway. It's a kind of paraphrasing here, but that's long and short of it is he pretty much probably calling her like, he doesn't know, probably calling her ugly, which is probably not ideal to say to a caller, or just anybody. You just on guesswork. But he's like, that's why it's called the ugly truth, lady. And so she gets frustrated, comes into work, and then her boss explains that they're hiring Mike Chadway to be part of a morning segment called The Ugly Truth. She is completely against it, but because their ratings and the threat of canceling her production is on the line, she has to accept the fact that this dude's coming in. And she talks with Mike, and she clears up like, I'm the caller and everything like that. And he was like, oh wow, you actually not ugly as I thought. It's kind of funny. Gerard Butler is very funny in this, and matter of fact, the on-screen chemistry between Katherine Heigl and Gerard Butler is phenomenal. They are fun to watch together. But it's also, and like, I'm surprised that, I mean, it's something like, I guess with Hollywood and stuff like that, and you've seen this with like Cameron Diaz for a while and Lucy Liu for a while, just like they kind of stepped away from it. But I think Katherine Heigl got like some kind of rumor that she was kind of like, I'm not sure how true this is, or depending on somebody's point of view for one bad experience or whatever, where she seems like, hard to work with, or I don't know if she was actually bitchy or because she was like a rising star in like the mid 2000s. She was like a big deal. Katherine Heigl was like almost in a lot of stuff, but after a certain point, she is just like, kind of fell by the wayside. I'm pretty sure she's still acting, but she's not like that big draw anymore. It's kind of like how Pedro Pascal is right now. He's like the big jaw, so he's in almost every goddamn thing. So, and then same thing with like Sydney Sweeney right now. She's gonna be in every goddamn thing at this point. So Katherine Heigl, I was like, let me see, it was like, is anything, oh, she has 3 children. Oh, that's nice. Married to Josh Kelly. Filmography. Last movie she did was 2021, Fear of Rain. Recently she's on a television show called Firefly Lane. So yeah, she's still been acts. She was on Suits and stuff for a bit, for at least 1 year. So yeah, she's been in quite a few things. So I'm glad she's still doing her thing. So yeah, it's great for her. I'm glad, because like, man, she was like in almost everything. I was just shocked she's like, propped up. Like, I consider her like A-list personally, because I thought she was fine. Like, a lot of her stuff growing up, she was like fun to watch. And she, her character here it does this cute little dance when she gets excited, and it's like, I don't know why, as a kid I always thought that was so cute. I was like, I don't know why. I got cute vibes from it. I don't know why. It's, maybe it's just me. I like, I like it when girls be a little bit dorky. I don't know why. I find it very cute. That's just me. Not every dude will probably feel that way, but it's just like my personal sensibilities. I find that cute when a girl's a little dorky. Uh, so, she is just like vehemently like just stewing in her own feelings right now about this dude, but she has to suck it up for a while, or at least just try to get along with this dude. He is starting on a segment where he actually brought these two anchors together who's been in like a kind of off-screen kind of bicker at each other, and literally live on air brings up the fact that like y'all don't even like each other anymore. It's like telling the wife, like, ever since you got more money, you kind of emasculated this dude. He wants to be a man. It's like, you gotta let him be a man. Like, I let him be a man, because clearly that's the whole thing with like, certain couples in relationships with like the women who happens to make more money than the guy is not. I mean, like, you're not doing it consciously, but there are some women that kind of, let's say, subconsciously throw their weight around, because, and not just saying like, oh, men are insecure when a girl makes more money. It's like, we don't care. Shocker to burst your bubble here, but by and large, guys don't care. If he does care, he's probably a leech, and that's big of a red flag about a guy who's just so interested about, who's too interested, I should say, too interested about what you do or how much money you make. Okay, guys don't typically care. What we do care is the fact that you might, try to throw that in our faces. You might not do it. You might not do it on purpose, but you tend to do it probably subconsciously. Like, you being a little bit more smug about it, or you might get in a tiff. You might throw that casually in his doggone face. Because as Mike points out, a guy just still wants to be a man. He's your husband, or it might be your boyfriend. He still deserves respect. It's not like an ego trip or anything like that. You want the man, don't you? You love this man, don't you? And you gotta make the man feel like a man. And disregard the fact that you make more money. He's still like supposed to be like the man supposed to be leading you, regardless of who makes more. Like, a man shouldn't be allowed to be a man if he happens to make more money than you. If you like the guy, you respect the guy, you allow him to do his manly duties in that relationship or in that household or whatever. And he points it out, and he managed to bring these two closer together. It's kind of funny, and they just straight up making out on air like, rabbits. And you see you're not too focused on them after this point, but every once in a while, like, just in the background, they just casually just going at it with each other. It's like two rabbits. It's kind of funny, and it's like, kudos for the direction here, because you don't really need to focus on that, but you see that funny little stuff going on in the background was good with, like, good it's good direction, where it's like, some things that might be going on in the background. It's kind of like slapstick in a way. It's like there's some funny crap going on in the background that, you know, you happen to see off screen while something prominent is happening right there in front of you, and your eyes are kind of like drawn, you know, back and forth, but you kind of, it's kind of like you want to freeze frame and just look what's going on in the background because so much going on that you're just also equally as invested in. Not that take away, because Marco, in my opinion, Marco a good director. It's like if you're choosing to have something go in the background, it shouldn't distract what's going on in the foreground because they both should be equally important. At least in my opinion. So so now it's like she just like can't believe, like, oh my god, I can't believe this actually worked, and it's live on air. And so the boss is happy, the network is happy, so she can't really say anything, despite her trying to get like the what's Carol Hines' character's name, Georgia, to try to own this dude on air, but it's not working because Mike is just too knowledgeable of what he's talking about, and he's too like kind of, he's knowledgeable, he got the swagger, and he does, I argue he probably does his research. So then later that night, Abby's trying to get her cat off the tree outside her apartment. I don't know, it was a complex or something like that. And then across the way, she notices there's a guy, this a handsome dude who just probably coming out of the shower, just with a towel on. She just like gobsmacked, and she fell out of a tree, sprained her ankle. He runs out. It's kind of a funny moment where dude's like is coming out with his like towel on. It's like, I guess because he's like a surgeon, is, you know, you see the emergency, he tried to run out, see what's going on, but it's like, why is he's the only one that sees this, and she's like kind of screaming like a, you know, crazy woman, and he's the only one that kind of runs out, and nobody else, no other neighbors taking notice of this. Anyway, he runs out, and none of us towel on, didn't bother to like put on some quick pair of pants. He didn't need to put on like a full blown underwear. He just like grab something and put on. He runs out, wasn't even at least a bathrobe. He literally runs out with a towel on. I know it's part of the comedy here, but it's just like, you know, realistically, I wouldn't run out with just my towel on like an idiot. So she's hanging upside down, and his towel fall down as he, you know, just right there, face first into his crotch, and it's hilarious. So he, you know, treats her sprained ankle, and he gives her his business card with his home phone number to call in case something like, you know, something was going on with his foot, her foot, or whatever like that. And she is like, next day she's at work, excited, telling her assistant about this good guy. He's like, everything look like the man of her dreams, and like a doctor and everything like that. And of course, as he's the next segment for The Ugly Truth, he, you know, walks off, you know, Mike walks off the set, and the camera just follows him out into right outside of the set area, where he just somehow got two women wrestling in Jello. Imagine about like, you know, what guys like, you know, guys, what guys like sexually, pretty much. It's like, you know, I forget like the topics of the segment, but it's basically just like what men are drawn to. and what women should, focus on in terms of like, sex appeal, which he will later instruct Abby about, where it's like, men are visual creatures. We like our girl to just do, it's kind of like, as he put it, he wants the librarian and the stripper. Just be a little slutty for your man. The best way to, make sure you keep it around. Of course, it isn't for every man. You gotta use some freaking discernment here about what, like, you find yourself, if the guy checks enough of your boxes, not every box, because there's no perfect man out there. If you check enough of your boxes, is he got great character as a person, that's the person you want to give your all to, and be a little slutty for. Because guys, tend to stick around if he's sexually satisfied with the girl who's doing, pleasing him sexually or whatever kind of nasty thing he likes. Of course, he should also be doing every nasty thing that you'll probably like too, within reason. But is, definitely more so a guy, because like how women love attention and they crave that kind of stuff. Men, by flip effect, we like sexual attention. We crave that stuff. It definitely keeps a man from, eyeballing, at least, well, it keeps him from scurrying away from the nest to seek honey elsewhere, if he's got all the honey at home as overflowing kind of thing. So, and then Abby just gets, like, you know what? Let's roll with it. And she, in his earpiece, is like, lick the jello off her finger. He's like, what? Lick the jello off her finger. And it's like the rating starts spiking when he just like, getting like one of the girl's fingers and just like licks the cherry off the lady's finger. And all the people around was like, woo! It was, matter of fact, I got the little sound bite here for that. Because, all these little crazy sound bites, I don't have to do it via my own mouth. That. So, once the segment is finished, he's, drying off the, he's in his little bathrobe because like he got covered in like jello. And he's like, man, like, I thought we was working great together. It's like, but she's like ashamed of herself because she feels like she debased herself. So later on, he walks into her office while she's trying to call, I keep on calling like, something else. What's the doctor's name? Colin. She keeps trying to call Colin, and he witnesses her pretty much once again taking control of the situation, and he is just like really trying to like, oh my god, this girl's kind of like a little much. So he promptly hangs up the phone for her, and she's like, what you doing? Like, you're blowing it right now. And he's, pretty much making her a deal. He will, in exchange for her working with him peacefully and not give him any crap, he will in turn try to help her land this dude, because he points out her flaws where she seems like she's trying to take control of the situation. And it's like, you're a bit of control freak. You gotta like ease off the gas and let this guy lead, pretty much. So just, like, follow my instructions, and I promise you, you'll get this guy. Or in his words, like, you'll make this guy your bitch. So she begrudgingly agrees. So he tells her, okay, like, call him back. Like, and he's like, trust me, he'll call back. And he does. and he tells her like, yeah, it's like, hey Mike, or he says some other dude's name. It's, it's like, and he's just like, trust me. Like, hey Mike, oh no, this is Colin. Like, who's Mike? Oh, that's somebody I talked to. It's not really serious. Yeah, he's instructing her and stuff like that. And he tells her to put him on hold. And she does. And it's like, uh, if he's still holding on for, over 30 seconds, then he's interested. Because nobody will wait to be put on hold with somebody that they don't really care about. It's not like family or close friends or anything. This is like still relatively a stranger. So, and the dude waits over 30 seconds. And so he tells her like to hang up the phone. Trust me, he'll call back. And he does. And it's like, he's right on the money. Because like, clearly the dude is like, relatively interested, especially after, Mike's instructions. So he takes Abby to update her wardrobe a bit. You know those little like those classic rom-coms, where it's like, where you do like those like makeover montages. But this one's a little funny, where he just points out like, because well, he goes through. I wrote down all these rules because I didn't want to mince words here. As the montage goes, it's like rule number one: never criticize a man, because I mean, he states that men aren't capable of improving or growing, or which I find that a little bit flawed here. It's not like perfect thing, because men can grow and improve a bit, but in terms of criticism, is like how you handle it. A guy with a good head on his shoulders, if he has a good head on his shoulders, because guys are logical. If you come with like a logical, point of view, or something that is not right he's doing, probably shouldn't nag or just kind of like, bigger, or just like, what I'm talking about, like nagging, like, some, people be doing. Laugh at, no guys like that. It just feels like, this is like being talked down to, or like condescending, or whatever. Laugh at whatever he says. That does help. And speaking of men, I mean, like, I'm not the funniest guy in the world, but I like to make people laugh. I like to joke around a bit. If you're interested in a guy, whether or not whatever he says is funny, if you like him, laugh whatever it is, whether it's actually funny or not. It helps, because that makes him like, oh wow, it garners interest, and therefore it's like, it makes him pull him more closer to you. Obviously, men are visual. Yes, we are. Don't talk about your problems, and I think it's more so in like first date kind of situation, but by and large, I'm thinking like he's speaking in generalities here. Because if you come on a guy with problems, our natural thing is to try to fix it, and most people would be pointing out, like, at least most older people would explain like, hey, like, if you just want to vent, like, that's what you probably have your girlfriends for. Because like, I learned this like a long time ago. It's like, girls just want to vent. It's not necessarily means like you gotta fix everything, but and you got to just listen. And I think that's kind of, not necessarily bad advice, because every once in a while a girl want to be able to just confide in her man, which is fine, but it wouldn't be advisable to overdo it, because a guy, really rarely, I want to say not all the time, but sometimes guys don't just sit down just for you to complain or vent about certain crap, because it's more emotional release for you. It isn't for us like that. That's what you got your girlfriends for. If you come to us with problems, it is advisable to be fixable problems, like, you know, oh my god, my car is like this, that, and the other. So that way, oh, guy can fix it, simple stuff. I'll make sure it takes a mechanic, make sure it's done right, blah 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 blah. If you're talking about like some girl at your job that's getting on your nerves, like, we don't give a fuck, honestly. Like, why would we? Unless the girl is punching you in the fucking face or something like that, then yeah, I will go down there and have some words with the boss, whatever. But other than that, don't really care. Pleasure yourself. He gives her these kind of like underwear that, you know, vibrates and increasing, you know, intensity and stuff like that, for stimulation. It's like, because if you don't know how you like to be touched, how would your partner? Which is a great advice, because clearly she hasn't, you know, had sex in, like, you know, I think she mentioned 11 months, I guess a year almost. And it's like, you should know how you like to be touched. So that way, if Colin touches you in a certain way, you'll know how to, because guys are not mind readers. Not every girl likes to be touched in like the same way all the time. You know, some girls like certain dirtier than other girls would. And so it's up to you to know how you like to be touched, because like, you girls know your bodies. It helps to instruct the guy so he will know better. And don't make him feel like crap for it. Just like, you know, just nicely explain to him like, hey, I like when my nipples, you know, are, you know, rubbed a little bit or something like that. You know, not every girl does that, but you know, girl A likes it, but girl B does not. So if a guy is with girl A's responsibility is making sure she explains to the guy, like, I like to be touched, this, that, and the third. So that way he knows what to do to please you. So she, you know, so Mike takes her to, you know, get like bras to boost up the breast a bit, just to show like you're inviting, pretty much. It is a crazy montage, and like, yeah, he makes some sound points here. So so she, you know, so they're at her house. She walks down and she looks like phenomenal. This is like peak Katherine Heigl, in my opinion. So Colin answers his door while, you know, Mike is hiding behind a couch and stuff like that. And so it wasn't like a date. He's just showing up, try to ask her out, and he opens the door. He just immediately goes, wow, and everything like that. And, like, you want to blow his mind. So she, like, you know, it's like, oh, hey, sure, whatever, you know, blah blah blah. So she closes the door, and he shouts, that like he want to take her out to a baseball game. And so she's doing her dorky little dance, and it's just like the reaction from Gerard Butler's priceless. He just looks like, the hell are you doing? the dorky dance. So he's, you know, doing those, you know, stupid like earpieces things, kind of like, I guess they borrowed from the TV set, where he's like instructing her about what to do, like, you know, like, you know, put the hot dog in your mouth. Like, what? Like, put the hot dog in your mouth. Guys like when like peanut shaped foods are going into a girl's mouth. Like, you know, you need that in his attention. And then casually, this is the funny part. You know, this is what, like, one of my, you know, if I have like, you know, some favorite rom-coms, because usually they're kind of dumb, especially the Christmas Hallmark ones, but the best ones have great writing. and it doesn't mean super realistic, but the fact that it has some kind of realistic standards you can hang your hat on. It's not cliche. This one would be like one of my best ones, one of the favorite ones. And like you see like Mike, you know, on a different stand, you know, trying to guide her, and some girl shows up next to him like, oh my god, are you Mike Chadwick? Yeah, what's up? Like, and it's like her boyfriend or something like, hey dude, like what's your problem, man? Like Mike was like, dude, what the fuck? Because he told Abby earlier to, like, you know, make sure you do exactly what I say. And of course, you know, hijinks was gonna ensue. It's like, and she was immediately repeats him like, what the fuck? No, not talking with you. It's like, oh, I'm not talking to you. Like, did I do something? And the kind of confused, like, did I do something wrong? It's like, oh no. And then that's when he instruct Abby about like putting the hot dog in her mouth, and explain why it, you know, he tells her to do that. And then she gets grossed out and she accidentally knocks over her drink on Colin's crotch, and she's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. And like she's trying to get the napkins to, you know, drop the spill, and of course everybody's paying attention to what's going on. And then the I forgot what you call those things at the sporting events, but like the big screen, you know, the kiss cam, you know, is showing them in that position. It clearly looks like she's like going down on him, and everybody is just like gobsmacked. It is so freaking funny. Oh god, it is hilarious. They don't do like these type of rom-coms anymore. It's like a crying shame. Of course, people will probably label it as misogynistic, or like, you know, like, oh my god, it's like, you know, insensitive, blah 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 kind of thing. But it's funny. It's funny, you know, comedic timing, slapstick, basically. So I'm surprised Noah brought it up at place of work. Now, this would have been circulating throughout the news outlets for at least a week. But it ends with her getting the kiss from him, which, you know, C's just like completely excited and everything like that. So yeah, it feels like, oh well, my job is finished. You landed a dude. But clearly there's a little you know, subtle cues that you get from Gerard Butler here, where it's like a slight you know, like a good combination of disappointment and happiness for her. But clearly, like, there was like an inkling of, because he spent so much time with her, he's having a great time with her, but it's like, I don't know, it's kind of like getting some kind of feelings for him, for this girl. Was is not impossible, you know. It's like guys are not like robots or anything like that. Like, we catch feelings too. So the next work day, this little kid just strolls on to behind the set, and it's like, how do you this kid even get this far? Unless might have the, I guess maybe the mom dropped him off or something like that. I'm not sure. He shouldn't even get on this lot, let alone this far into it. And Abby's, you know, asking this kid like, yo, I'm sorry, this is not something that you should be seeing, young man. I was like, why don't you? The first question is like, excuse me, kid, who are you and how'd you get here? That'll be the first question. But he's like, don't worry, like, I know him. And so Mike, after his segment was done, he goes like, dude, what you doing here? I told you you're not supposed to be watching my segments, you know. And of course, this is the first time we meet this kid. We find out that Mike has a sister and this kid is his nephew. And because there's like a different earlier scene that kind of like, you know, skipped over, my apologies. The kid was telling Mike, because the kid got in trouble at school because he took some advice from Mike and applied it by, you know, kind of like essentially checking a girl. But the problem is she's 14, and Mike, you know, explains to this kid, which it always stuck with me all these years, because he explains to the kid, his nephew, like, you made the girl cry. She's 14 years old. She's going through puberty. She got enough problems. And like, my little advice only applies to girls that's probably like, you know, 25 and above. Probably at this day and age, is probably like 21 and above. Who got like an overinflating sense of self-worth. So those kind of things probably is deserving for that ilk, not for 14-year-old little girls who are just having periods for the first time. So it's not ideal for them. So that always stuck with me, because yeah, it's like, clearly you can't apply for adult women towards young girls just reaching puberty. It doesn't work. They don't even know what's going on just yet. And he explains to the kid, like, you're not supposed to be watching my segments, because he's still a young kid, probably barely in 8th grade, let alone probably 7th. So I love the fun dynamic between, you know, you see Mike's world outside of the TV station, where he is, you know, hanging out with his sister, and pretty much like a pseudo father for his nephew, which is highly important. Yeah, sometimes things don't work out with the dad. He might run out on you, or he was a deadbeat, or abusive, whatever the case may be. Yeah, sure, there are like scummy guys in this world, and it's, you know, more than likely best that you don't associate with that guy. But even if like it isn't that extreme where you just have like a falling out, you would still need a father figure for any child's life in order to get them on a right path in life, because it's highly important. You know, typically the fathers are the disciplinarians. They're especially when the kids are getting to the teenage years, they want to make sure like the kids are on the straight and narrow as much as possible. Especially for young girls, because like so many, not everyone, but it's just a vast majority of girls go into like, you know the old saying about, you know, father's responsibility is keep his daughter off the pole, or in this case, in this day and age, OnlyFans, where it's like, yeah, you need that disciplinarian thing. Not like, you know, overdoing it where you will end up pushing it away, but just like a healthy amount where it's like, knowing where the line is and not going all over the place. Because more so, mothers tend to coddle or being a little easygoing, and the follows like the brick wall. So like no, stay here, nah, kind of thing. And sure, the young kids like, oh my god, dad, you're ruining my life, but that's just like a short time frame. Eventually they're gonna be like, I hate to use this line because it's so cliche in itself, but they'll thank you in the end for it, because they don't know that this, because especially guys can't instruct the kids about relationships, or at least more so for guys to tell their daughters about, like, because I am in the at least for me, whenever I had kids, hopefully like it's a son, because if I have a daughter, I want to be like, I ain't ashamed to say it, I'm gonna be very overprotective, but it's ideal that the dad or whatever father figure or male figure, male adult figure, I should say, in the said woman's family should check any guy, this girl, at least a girl should use her own discernment if she's like meeting this dude somewhere and seemingly he checks her boxes, but before it leads to anything sexual, highly advised to have this guy meet the father, whoever father figure or male figure that she trusts, to check this dude through and through, because the guys aren't like dazzled by his words, or not dazzled by his slick talk, you know, or like, or you don't care how handsome he is or how much money he makes or what kind of job he has or whatever status. They don't care about any of that stuff. We hyper focus on the kind of character he is. We probably draw up like a list of pros and a list of cons, and if the list of pros outweigh the cons, we explain to her like, okay, these things he probably need to work on, but you know, by and large, yeah, this, you know, dude seems like a solid dude. If not, then highly advise you take the, you know, the guy's advice and say like, yo, you need, this dude got too many, you know, issues. You need to cut off right here and there and be advised. So that way you don't have to waste your time. That way in the future you're not crying about like, I gave him everything and he didn't deserve it. Because no, he didn't deserve it, because you know, you two freaking hyper focus on the attraction triggers he exudes in you, or the bad boy qualities he triggers in you. You know, that's detrimental in the long run. And that way you don't have to like worry about having too many bodies on your, you know, belt, because you didn't waste it on good for nothing men, because not every man is deserving of that treatment, kind of thing. So that's why like I like it here. You see like Mike being like a father for this kid. We don't need to get into the, they didn't address what happened to the dad. You don't even need to know. All you know, he's like an absentee father, and Mike is stepping in. He's stepping up so that way he can give this young boy some direction. So that way he in the future will not be played. You see later on when he shows up on the set, he mentions how a girl asked him to a school dance or something like that, and you know, he's like, you know, super proud. It's like, yeah, man, you're winning, because now the girls are coming up to you, which is very rare, because not many girls, if at all, walk up to a man. Is the onus has always been on the guy to go approach the girl. Which guys gotta sack up, approach these women out on the, if you meet her in a coffee shop or the bookstore or even at the mall or whatever, like sack up, because yeah, she might reject you. You know, it's going to happen. Rejection is a fact of life for a lot of guys. It hurts for a little bit, but you'll have respect for yourself knowing that at least that you tried. Don't be like stupidly awkward, but just, you know, walk with a girl, introduce yourself. Hey, my name is so and so, so and so. I saw you across the way. I thought I'd introduce myself. And I wonder if I can buy you a coffee and something like that. I want to get to know you. Something, you know, whatever. She might reject you, she might not, but it's just all about your approach. Just, you know, have the courage knowing that at least that you did it, because it will hurt a lot more. Trust and believe in me, because it happened to me, happened to a lot of guys. It's like you know, it get fear overtake you and you don't do it, then you'll be left, you know, wondering, what if I did this or that and the third? You don't know unless you do it. So, but it's awesome if, like, thanks probably to Mike's instructions to this young boy, it's like how to carry himself. So now he got girls approaching him. So now he'll be ahead of the game when he gets a lot older. So that way he don't get finessed by good for nothing women, where they're going to try to like fleece him out of this or that and the third. That is very good for this young boy's self-esteem, and he'll be all the better for it later in life. That is the responsibility for the male figure in a young kid's life. So whether it's a girl or a boy, they will be winning down the road. So you see, Abby find him a little bit endearing, because like, oh, he's not just some smug. He actually is a good male role model to young kids, because you know, you saw what's on the surface and you let your prejudices against this guy dictate, you know, his character instead of get to know him. God, what happened next? Uh, you see like her and Colin hanging out a little bit, but then he invites her to Lake Tahoe. But now word gets out that uh uh oh no sorry, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. She arranges for a date, or at least Colin arranges a date between her, a dinner date between her and him. But it turns out that some network execs or somebody want to have dinner. Ironically, well, not ironic. I was about to say ironic, the same restaurant, but no, sorry, scratch that. So they kind of hijack, Abby's date because the network execs want to speak with Abby and Mike, and so Abby gets Colin to join in. He's been pretty chill. He's not like there's no real villains in this film, because this day and age you would think like they'll try to make Colin some kind of like bastard in some kind of way, or jealous of some kind of way. But no, he's a pretty chill dude. Nothing wrong with him. He's not weird or anything like that. Most people would probably lean in, because I haven't seen this movie in years. I would have sworn like, oh my god, this is probably some weird dude, probably got a foot fetish or something like that, because that's why he's like an orthopedic surgeon. But no, he's not weird or any kind of thing. He's like a normal dude, handsome, successful, clearly got a personality. He likes baseball games. He's a typical guy. He's not chauvinistic or anything like that. He's a pretty decent dude. And so they all go out to this dinner, and of course this is not too long after she received this like little gift from Mike. After the whole instructions about knowing your body and everything like that, he gives these like vibrating panties, and getting like a text from Colin that he might be running a little late. She decides to try on the panties, but then here comes like the boss and Mike knocking on her door saying like, did you get my email? Because she didn't. So there's another hijinks ensues. So she was trying on the panties to try on like see how it feels and everything like that. But of course she didn't have time to switch them out. Luckily she brought the controller in her purse. So they end up all going out to this dinner. And excuse me, get some water. I am thirsty. So well, I'm trying to explain to execs how the network is working and with like the ugly truth and everything like that, Mike says something kind of crass but funny. She kicks him but knocks over her purse and the controller fell out, where some kid in the restaurant picks it up and starts playing with it. And of course this is kind of purposely aped the scene from that Meg Ryan film. What was that film? Hold on a second. Oh god, I'm blanking on it. I just had it. When Harry Met Sally. There he is. When Harry Met Sally was doing that, of course it was fake. Here, in that old film, and she does that iconic scene, which I don't know if that was, I'm pretty sure that was probably improv from Meg Ryan, but it's one of the most iconic movie scenes in history. And they're trying to, that fake orgasm expression in that old film here is, almost the same difference. Well, same difference, but only the difference being the fact that she's actually wearing something that will cause the actual arousal. Now, before we get further into it, I almost forgot about the whole situation with one of the instructions by Mike to Abby is just like, you gotta fake orgasms for your guy. Where a guy wants, like the guy that you like wants to be able to feel like a king in bed. So, which over time we come to understand that, you know, isn't helpful, because because once that bubbles burst, the guy will feel disappointed if he spend, you know, months or years having sex with his girl, come to find out that he wasn't completely satisfying her all the time. So, or if at all, so it's highly advisable early on, if something he's doing is not like really hitting that spot all the time or all the way or whatever like that, early on, don't be rude about it, but just be honest, like, hey babe, like, last night I didn't really go all the way. You was, you know, great for the most part, but it'll help if you do this, that, or that. That's where knowing your body comes into play, so that way you can properly instruct, like, hey, I don't like this, that, like, I like it when you do this, that, there, it might get me there, blah blah blah, or we can use some toys, something like that early on, because that way, you know, he won't feel like, you know, he's been misled for X amount of years. So, but I don't want to agree with like whole faking orgasms, but as long as you're still getting pleasure, I guess, you don't always, well, I'll say that. I don't want to say that, because the whole faking orgasms, I want to say is, you know, it's never been the right move. And of course, it does, you know, not every guy will always take you there. Even hell, even most girls can't always get there themselves. Most girls haven't probably ever felt like the pleasure of, I don't even know if I can say this on YouTube, but you know, like sprinkler system kind of thing. Every girl will experience that, or have experienced that, or whatever the case may be. Don't know, not a girl, but it's been cases like that. So at the very least, let him, you know, do something to hit, you know, the spot. At least get enough there, whatever. But not totally advisable to fake orgasms. But anyway, getting back to the dinner scene, she is just like, and of course, Mike notices the kids playing with a toy, so he's a total troll, and I really like Mike in this. So he just lets her, because like, I don't want to interrupt. So she's trying to explain about, like, you know, why the ugly truth is working and the network, and she's, of course, it's like, oh my God, this dinner's really good. And of course, she climaxes, and everybody's looking like, wow, it's like, what's in this food? Like, I'll have what she's having. And so she gets kind of irritated with Mike when he gets the toy from the kid, and it's like, you knew he had this whole time? Well, I wanted you to finish. So, because why wouldn't you make a pun in this situation? So now Colin wants to go out on like you know, take a weekend trip to Lake Tahoe, because they haven't had sex yet, but it, you know, it's like, oh, it's going to go down this weekend. So of course Abby's excited, but word got out that Mike's agent, that somehow nobody figured out he had an agent at some point along the line, that got him booked on a spot with Late Night with Craig Ferguson, which was like a thing in like the early to mid 2000s. And so they're worried, oh, he might end up getting booked in like a LA type of gig, so we need to keep him, you know. So the boss telling Abby, I know you have plans, but we need you to go to LA with Mike and convince him after the Craig Ferguson interview to stay with us. So, you know, like, you could send anybody else, but it had to be her, because you know you knew she had plans, but you just kind of like F your kind of plans, I guess. Because bosses, I'm not sure how like TV execs work, or you know, how that kind of thing, but if a girl already had like vacation plans, you would probably like be generous for the boss's part to make sure like get somebody else that doesn't have plans already to go handle this kind of thing, but I rely on Abby on this one. So she goes on the LA trip with Mike. And of course, Mike goes to Craig Ferguson and talks to spiel. And then Craig Ferguson asks him a question, which is one of this day and age has always been the gotcha questions. Like, of course, it will be asked, but it's kind of irrelevant at the same time. Where he asks, like, so, like, you know, what kind of woman that, you know, screwed you over so badly that led you to this? And of course, you see, like, Mike explained to Abby a little bit later after this, but I feel like that question is kind of irrelevant. It's always been irrelevant. It's just this day and age we have the words to articulate it, where most guys probably usually be stumped, or is a credible answer because it's always like an origin story or something, you know, to the fact where in my, you know, assessment in this day and age, it doesn't necessarily need to be like a woman that did him wrong or anything like that. He could just like, no, I've witnessed men time and time again getting screwed over by, you know, really crappy women who, and like a lot of guys in this day and age will point out that girls constantly get hit on ever since they start growing boobs. Or start growing, you know, start developing. Girls constantly get hit on. So they will start dating early on, and it's usually crappy dudes that is like the, you know, the high school football player or whatever, like bad boy, or like the popular kid in school. They usually give it up to because they get like a little bit hotter than most other girls, whatever the case would be. And so they conflate, I was able to land the popular kid in school, so that's my level, and I can only get it higher from here. So anybody else that isn't on that level, they're beneath her kind of attitude. That's where some girls like that need to get checked. Sorry, it's just ugly truth, being honest. Girls like men being honest. Don't punish the truth, or you ask to be lied to. So girls like that who's been hip to the game early on, who's, you know, already probably more familiar with, you know, sex early on, and so been dating early on than most guys, who's probably struggle with girls more often than not than the opposite, to the flip effect. So girls are already hip to the game, so they are more knowledgeable on how to finesse guys, because, you know, how many girls out there probably got like the, you know, food bay, or you know, like trip bay or whatever like that. You know, it's like be able to, you know, do certain guys be able to do certain tasks for you, you know, in hopes of landing you or hooking up with you or whatever the case would be. So they're hip to the game more so than their other peers. So when a decent guy comes along, he try to do what's always been taught to him since a young age. Treat a girl nice, take her out on a nice dinner, you know, buy her flowers, and, you know, do all this romantic stuff that we've always been like fed to as young boys. It isn't until, unfortunately, when we get like put in the dating department, or hopefully you have like more guys like, you know, Mike Chadway in your life to instruct you on how to navigate through all the BS early on so you won't get played. Because so many dudes, average dudes, decent dudes, get played all too often by girls who figure like, oh, like, I'm not really feeling this dude, even though he probably would have been a great boyfriend to you, but because he's, you know, not of a certain ilk of high tier dudes, you feel like, oh, he's a decent dude. I might treat him as a friend, but like, you know, he wants to yell, then oh, it's a free meal, so whatever. Instead of it's like if you're not feeling the dude, then don't like waste his time or money. That's the biggest thing. Guys don't like their money and time wasted any more than a woman would. But it's especially egregious to a man because he's the one that's going to be putting the investment in you. So Mike could just express like, I just seen too many girls finessing guys like that who's decent dudes who is not that knowledgeable. I'm peeping these guys to the game so that way they don't feel bamboozled by certain girls. They can point out their flaws in the games. In this day and age, girls might get a little pissy about it because y'all been like master at this chess game for so long that now that your rule book is being displayed for all people involved, so now it's like now guys can play on an equal playing field than you, so that way you ain't getting like this guy's resources without putting in some level of effort on your end of the deal. Because yes, guys want to be able to take you girls out, especially girls who are deserving, because guys, it's your duty to make sure that you pay for the first date, at least for the first 3 days at the very least, because you're a gentleman. That's what you're meant to do. But it's your discernment, and make sure like you got the tools in the game to decide whether or not a particular girl is worth that energy. If she's not, then she's not the type of girl that you need to mess around with. But a lot of guys are naive to that. They don't know if a girl might be playing her because all they see is like hot women. She might be a little chill in this particular moment in time because you only know her for a brief moment. And the girls can play the, innocent girl like, oh my God. It's like, oh my God, you're so funny. Oh yeah. And it's like, guys just gobsmacked about like, oh, she's a pretty girl. It's like, I want to get to know you kind of stage. She doesn't know her yet. So that's the whole point of the date, is to get to know you stage. But guys with the proper tools can decide, okay, oh, Becky isn't worth nothing because clearly she got shadow tendencies, or she's, high maintenance kind of tendencies. I'm going to back away, do the, the Drake meme, like kind of thing, and go with Melissa, who's behaving a little bit more cordial, dressing, sexy but not assy. There's, or classy not assy. There's difference, because girls think, at least some girls conflate dressing, half naked, equals to sexy. But you can be, because like Katherine Heigl's outfit, when Colin asked out to go to the baseball game, that is like the picture definition of sexy but classy sexy, where she can accentuate all her curves and show off her goods, but leave it to the imagination. Most women don't leave things to the imagination anymore, in my opinion, because it's elegance. Like, I can tell Katherine Heigl is sexy, but she doesn't have to be half naked to do it. That's the difference. I don't want to see your gaze all the way, because that was just incentivize not only the good guys but the bad guys too. They're thinking like, oh, I know what time it is in her mind. Of course, that might be prejudice, but what you telegraph into a guy means a lot, because we're visual creatures. If you're dressing half naked, it's just going to confuse a guy thinking like, oh, she's probably just for the streets. I don't know if she's for the streets or not, but the way she's dressed, you dress in like a whore's uniform. Sorry, that just you might be different from the other girls, but how we know? The way you're dressing, we don't know. So after the Craig Ferguson interview, Abby brings up like, yeah, and what did happen? So I wrote it down here because he points out, he went through a bunch of horrible women by the time he turned 30, he realized, in his point of view, there's no such thing as a good relationship because most girls can be codependent, unfaithful, depressed, narcissistic, phony, or just generally just doesn't like him. And the only thing I disagree with is there's no such thing as good relationship. He's a little cynic a bit, but that's where I disagree with him on. But what I do agree with him on is a lot of girls, and it's only gotten worse since 2009, mind you. There's a lot of girls that is definitely narcissistic, because look at, try to tell a girl to, like, if you got a girlfriend, try to tell her to delete her Instagram, or try to say, can I see your phone, and watch her flinch, hesitate, like get defensive, because it's her life. Because girls crave, not that it necessarily means he's doing anything sketchy, but that is like her thing. It's like she craves that outside attention kind of thing. A little bit narcissistic. It's because not enough that her man gives her that soul attention. That's what, that's the whole point of you girls, like, posting like ass pics or whatever on Instagram and stuff. You're casting a wide net to try to find like the type of guys that you want. Of course, you want all the attention and all the likes, but you want those few bits and pieces of those quality men that might be liking you too, so you can like pick them out kind of thing, instead of relying just solely the man that you're with kind of thing. It's just like, okay, it's peacocking essentially, but it's taken to the extreme where it's like, you just want all the attention, or in case something goes bad, you got like an out, because girls want like a safety net, or they can't just rely on the guy that they finally caught and be satisfied with that guy. Anyway, and of course, depressed girls, or just girls that seems got like, sure, everybody got baggage, but girls handle like baggage like, like a set of weights. And it's like, it all depends on, because we all mess up in some shape or form, but it gotta be, something that's not crazy that, is gonna be like a issue. There might be a big issue later down the road. It's manageable, manageable issues. That's what I'm trying to drive at. It's gotta be manageable issues that a guy and a girl equally have to be able to say, like, I can probably deal with that. It's not like a huge deal, because we all got issues. Hopefully you're dealing with it or dealt with it. It's not like still driving your entire life. That's where something like both men and women do not want to deal with. You should be managing it, or already managed it. That's where, like, I believe in therapy, but therapy should be like an end goal, not drawn out forever, like, because now hip to have like a like a series of therapists and whatnot. It's kind of nutty in a way. And if you're going to like a therapist, it should be like an end goal, so that a proper therapist will be giving you the tools that you need, so that way once you're like feel like, okay, like I reached to a certain point, I don't really need to come to therapy anymore unless something might happen, but the therapist will give you the tools that you need, so that way when you go out in the world, you have the tools to be able to manage it, so that way you don't end up in another depressed state or whatever, because it's not the guy or the girl's responsibility to fix whatever might be ailing you. That's the whole point of having a therapist, in order to give you the tools so you can deal with that issue. Codependent, like nobody wants to constantly linking on, like, where you been? Woo woo. It's like, I can't live without you, like all that other stuff. Clearly, over too much of that is an issue, or you can't like go simply to a CVS store without her blowing up your phone, thinking like you might be cheating when you're not, when you literally just left the house 5 minutes ago. Unfaithful, clearly no one wants a girl, because guys like you know, guys ask very little, and we truncated those very little things to be the most crucial things, like the biggest one being like disloyalty, because we want sexual exclusivity from our ladies. So yeah, don't be unfaithful to us, because especially when we put in so much investment in you, we kind of took a bet on you, from what we managed to gauge from the dates that we have with you. And once we make it, you know, because guys are the ones that give out the relationships, so it's like once we like, okay, Becky seems like a, you know, type of girl that, like, you know, I want to stick it out with, so whatever, like, yeah, we're still in the deal on that relationship. But if you're like, if Becky turns out, you know, to having some, you know, like effing the pool boy, then yeah, you know, a lot of guys will just done the relationship, because, you know, because I mean, it's up to the guy if he feels like, you know, having some, you know, you might see if like, oh, it happened one time, we'll work through it, we'll go see marriage counselors, whatever like that. It's up to the guy. It's case by case basis, but by and large, most guys will not tolerate that kind of crap. And I'm not saying girls should tolerate that crap from a guy either if he steps out, but, you know, most of the time, girls, you know, it's guys who looks for sexual exclusivity, or at least sexual discretion from the ladies, you know, sexual purity from the ladies. You know, girls conscious, or at least subconsciously, in my opinion, don't look for a sexual exclusive, or a sexual purity, I should say, from the guy's point of thing. Sure, they don't want, you know, guys stepping out on a relationship, and guys shouldn't cheat, obviously, because that's bad from both ends of the thing. But sexual purity isn't like a guy's responsibility. It's like, you know, a guy's responsibility is to provide and protect. Sexual purity isn't like a thing for us, even though guys shouldn't cheat on your girl, unless you got some kind of polyamory thing going on, or you got an open relationship that you early on discuss on what you want from this relationship. I highly encourage you have that discussion, so nobody will be confused. That way you can decide if you want to proceed or not before anybody gets down and dirty. So he just having a discussion, which kind of enlightens Abby on like, oh, you know, there's, you know, this guy probably been through the ringer, you know, growing up, and, you know, enlighten her on how, like, you know, there's some pretty crappy women out there that's probably done nice guys like Mike so dirty, where they end up turning, it's like the Dark Knight situation. We buy armor piercing rounds, they buy bulletproof vest, you know, that kind of thing. It's escalation. So you know, girls will end up turning the nice average dude into the dogs that they always hear about, you know, that's more so been coming from girls that dealt with the top 20% of dudes that has the resources to bang whatever woman that they so choose to. And you know, and once they get like bit in the behind on the back end, they conflate those small group of 20% of dudes and think that that's what all guys are like, and that's not the case. And so now they're like, oh, they're gonna treat every guy like this, like they're all gonna potential dogs in the end. Then of course you ain't gonna turn like the, you know, decent dude into the future dog for another girl down the line. So it's just like a perpetual cycle. So Abby and Mike dance on the dance floor, and things get hot and heavy. They end up making out in the elevator, but they go their separate rooms. But then Colin pops up to Abby's room as a surprise, saying like, oh, just because our Lake Tahoe vacation got, you know, interrupted doesn't mean we still can't have a nice weekend together. But that's when Mike starts knocking on her door and sees Colin, and he gets upset. He leaves. He ends up quitting the show because he just felt hurt. But that's the whole point of like probably having like a discussion kind of thing. This is a typical rom-com cliche, but I guess it's one of those cliches that's kind of like mandatory. There has to be like a third act breakup kind of scenario. But then Abby tells Colin that he fell in love with the idea of her. What he saw from those first couple of days wasn't a real her. She's pretty much being instructed in a particular way, so that way, because it's the real her likes to dance kind of dorky. I'm a bit of a control freak, like I don't like caviar or whatever like that. It's not me. So she breaks it off with him, which he left a little bit shocked, but a little bit more understanding. So it's not like a big blow up. So next time she shows up at work, she finds out Mike quit and starts working for a rival TV station. Oh, and by the way, he wasn't planning on moving to LA because he was going to stick with Abby's morning show, because he wants to be able to be close with his sister and therefore his nephew, so that way he'll have like a father figure constantly in his life, because he doesn't want to half-ass it several miles away. But now he's working for a rival TV network, so is doing this little segment about like hot weather, not weather balloons, but hot air balloons. So she jumps in on his little segment, pretty much like, I mean, like, is he messed up, whatever like that, but clearly he really likes her. But then I wrote this down because it's like very like poignant. I didn't want to mince words here, but like Mike points out, like, like on air, like, some women like to make us believe that they're the victims, that we break their hearts for sport. They say that they want romance and true love, but all they really want is a checklist, which kind of points out to Abby's little moment earlier in the film where she actually had like a little, like with that blind date dude. Is he perfect? Is he handsome? Is he a doctor? If there are men who might fit, the criteria, women aren't sleeping with you, they're sleeping with a calculated set of vinyl choices. Money over substance, looks over soul, polish over principles. There's no gesture, no matter how real or romantic, will ever compensate for a really impressive list of credentials. A girl who likes two guys will choose whoever has the best resume. And that is really true in this day and age. It's just, like I said, it's only gotten worse since 2009. This movie is way ahead of its time. Of course, we kind of laughed. You probably laughed at this, didn't think it was much substance to this. That was quirky comedy. But in realization that romance between the opposite sex it's just certain top 20% of dudes dilute the brand, and most women dilute the brand of concept of relationships. Like, you look it up, it's like 8% of relationships have, at least divorce, has been initiated by women. And sure, we might not know what happened within said relationships, but by and large, it's, if whoever like we pull up, mostly it's frivolous or something that should be fixable. Because especially when it comes to marriages, and like 8% of the like in the divorce rates is way heavily on the women's side of things by initiation, whereas like divorce isn't it's like usually like financial or by the low end of things, it's like, or like worse end of things, it's like, oh, we just fell out of love, or it's like I don't like him anymore. And it's just like feelings over, like, you know, like everything's over like just feeling stuff. It's like usually as a kid I always thought divorces is for like if a guy was, you know, hitting a woman, or if, you know, he's doing something extremely drastic that would call forth a divorce. Like if he's like substance abuse, or like a serial cheater that didn't learn his lesson after the first instance or whatever. Yeah, or if he's like, you know, SAing the lady. I thought, yeah, those are grounds for divorce. That makes sense to my young mind. But now it's like, oh, a girl can just divorce, you know, whatever myriad of reasons. Because like the whole, you know, line about like for richer, for poor, better, for worse, sickness and health, all just like, you know, mere suggestions instead of outright vows anymore. And it's like, you know, girls, you know, some people, but mostly, you know, it's mostly on the women's side of things, unfortunately, that they don't like stick it out. Or at least if the guy, of course, is like, you know, people, you know, things over the years being with a person, things change, or the whole honeymoon stage is long since over. But it's just like girls want the wedding, they don't understand marriage takes work, and they don't want to work at it because it's like, I don't know, tiresome or whatever. They just want an out kind of thing. And it's like, you made vows. It's essentially a contract that you're freely breaking for whatever ridiculous reasons, whether it's like legit or not, wherever the case may be. It's like you're just, oh well. It's like, oh, he left the seat up one too many times. Divorce. It's like nobody want to work it out anymore. That's the whole purpose of marriage counselors are there for, in my opinion. But these kind of little things, because like, you know, the guy still loves you, still respects you, still makes sure you're good. He's not, if the guy's not SAing you and he respects you, he still loves you, he's doing his husbandly duties or just manly duties in general for any serious relationship, then there's no real reason that you need to like let, you know, dead the relationship. In my opinion, it's kind of like you treating like divorce like it's just like, instead of like a just in case break glass kind of scenario, you're treating like, you know, oh, this is like a light switch, I'm gonna just flip it on every time I feel the need to. It's kind of messed up. But Mike expressed that, you know, he fell in love with her, and she admits that, you know, she fell in love with you because, like, you know, because after the whole, because in that little, before the dance, he orders her some water because he wanted, like, he wanted like a mojito like she had, but she decides to go with water instead, and he orders her like tap water because he says the same thing that she said earlier in the first blind date, where it's like it's basically the same thing, right? And she just immediately just, you can saw the look on her face. It's like, oh my god, this, because like those cute, Mark is a great actor, those little, you know, facial cues says a lot. Then he's like, oh wow, this is like, he doesn't know this, but this is like one of those kind of like connection or the vibes the girls like to throw out. It's like this dude, like we're clicking on that kind of thing. We share the same mindset, that, you know, how, you know, it's subtle, it's small, but it means a great deal. And it's something that Abby is picking up on through the time she spent with Mike. And so she admits how much she truly loves him, and she did the relationship with Colin because he wasn't her true soulmate, because her true soulmate isn't these list of criteria that he has to, you know, this guy has to meet out on all spectrums. It's someone like Mike who might be a little bit off the beaten path of what she would have expected years ago from what her ideal guy would be, but it's more real, It's not like one of those things he sees in like a rom-com or a self-help book or whatever. It's somebody that might be a little rough around the edges, but it's somebody who will love her, respect her, and meet, like, you know, have the same kind of, you know, thought process, or at least checks her, you know, like calls her out on her BS, and she calls him out on his. It's just like that, you know. Not everybody's this guy picturesque little view on what you might see from the opposite sex. It could come from the most unlikely scenarios, and most women these days don't acknowledge that. You might have a lot of dudes in your friend zone list. At least a couple of them would meet the criteria of your boyfriend, who will treat you like you want to be treated, who is decent looking, might have a bit of a dad bod, but you know, he will be there for you if you call and something needs to be fixed. He's there for you, kind of thing. He might not be a doctor, he might be a mechanic, but who knows? He isn't that, you know, not every guy is gonna meet all your listed criteria. The major point in terms of meeting the right person is they have to at least, if you want to, you know, find like a person to be your boyfriend or your girlfriend, because guys understand this more so than women, because I said this in high school. I remember saying this in high school. It's just like, you know, guys grade on a curve when it comes to the opposite sex. She don't need to be a perfect chick of all time. We don't expect to land Wonder Woman. It's like, we'll settle for Batgirl. We don't care. As long as she's decent looking, she's like crazy annoying, we can have like a decent conversation with each other. You know, it's helpful that she's a great cook, but she doesn't really need to be. It's just, you gotta check at least enough of our boxes, and everything else we can let slide, or we can work on over time. But we'll be chill, because guys are perfectly fine of settling. Girls, most of them, wants this like crazy list, and it has to be checked every time. And not every guy, even if there is a guy out there, can you imagine the percentage of them out there in the world who might not be in your city, who might not even be in your country, who might be gay, who might have a series of girlfriends on the side, who, if he chooses to have a girlfriend at all, who might be married already. It's just like a fraction of a percentage of people out there that might fit these wild, crazy, picturesque type of dudes. It might, you know, that criteria for like a perfect boyfriend. There's no perfect anybody, and it's just like girls treat settling like it's a negative thing, and it's not. It's just meeting the person in your lane and be happy with it, because that kind of guy will treat you like the way you want to be treated. It's the guy's character you should be focused on, and not what he can probably do for you. And that's why I like this relationship, where it's like, you know, Mike and Abby fit that narrative of the kind of person they end up with that meets their own criterias, at least enough of their criterias that they didn't think they would, kind of thing. And they end up in bed together. And I like this, the way it ends with them having sex, and she mentioned how like, oh my God, this is the best thing I ever have. And he's like, really? Well, you never know. And the movie ends. I like that. It's kind of funny, because like, leave that kind of ambiguous. But I like to think that he did get her all the way. But that was The Ugly Truth. It's a long movie review, but there's so much I want to talk about. But I'm going to make a separate video, get into the nitty gritty of the themes of this, because this is like a red pill type of thing that's ahead of its time, like I said. But leave a comment below if you've seen this movie, or at least if you haven't seen this movie or haven't seen it in a while. I highly encourage you check this out, because it has some points to this that speaks to relationships of today. Let me know what you think of Katherine Heigl, because I think she's an amazing actress, and it's like, man, she should be a lot more stuff. You would think she would have been like a big deal of a A-list star to this day, on the same level as even someone like, you know, And Jessica Alba is another person that, man, I think she's an A-list star, but she should be like, everywhere. But I guess she's probably fine, you know, taking a back seat. She doesn't need to be like the Brad Pitt or Angelina Jolie type of draw anymore. She's probably fine being like a character actor or something like that, which I respect. But it's like crazy. Like, man, she was like a big deal. She was great. She is great. But like, man, like she was fun to watch in a lot of films. But oh, I did do a review last year of her and Seth Rogen in Knocked Up. That's the first movie that I reviewed with Katherine Heigl in it. So this will be my second one. So let me know your favorite Katherine Heigl films, favorite Gerard Butler films. And I will see you guys in a little bit. Take care.